Are you doing this work to facilitate growth or to become famous?
All right, everybody. All right, everybody. So, I like to have my fun on this channel and everything like that. It's usually sports, a lot of energy. After a long day of work, this is a place where I like to go get a lot of my energy out and stuff like that. But today we have to get a little more serious. We have to get a little more serious on the channel. By the way, if you are new to the channel, this is the Road to 500 subs. Anyways, we have one of my former classmates in the building, one of my former classmates from Georgia State in college. We had an African American studies class together. We were in a group project and all that good stuff. And she's doing a lot of work in the community. So I want to shed a light on her. And I wanted to give a disclaimer beforehand because I know obviously I am employed by a couple of media conglomerates and whatnot. So I have to give a little disclaimer up front. All of her answers do not represent my opinions or my direct beliefs or anything like that, or my biases or anything like that. These answers are her answers. What I'm asking are just my questions. I'm gonna leave it at that. I'm following social media policy. Anyways, we got my girl, Ariel Singleton in the building. Ariel, how you doing?
Good. How are you? How are you, Rashad? It's very good to see you again. It feels
I
like so
know,
long.
right? It's been a
Yes.
minute, been a few
I
years, been a few
know.
years. I'm doing well. I'm doing well. Just first question, you've been everywhere. I saw you on the Roland Martin Network and everything like that on that roundtable discussion. How was that for you, just first of all?
It is good. It's amazing. I've been blessed to be in a certain position and to be placed in these tables and at these tables where, for so long they say that we, don't have that seat. So I'm glad to have that seat.
And I guess even just going back to college and everything like that with African American studies, just like what is some of your background and everything before you got to where you are today, as far as being educated through college and stuff.
Yes, so my background as far as in college was African American studies, but also film and video. But I come from a long line of family members who are doing service, working a lot in Louisiana, and just a community service based family. Growing up, even going on and matriculating through school. As you saw, I did a lot of things personally that were very dear to my heart, which is like going back to Louisiana, the city where we're from, and making sure that they were straight. And that kind of just rubbed off as I got older and wanting to find a career. As soon as we left Georgia State, I went straight into corporate. I hated it, so I literally had to stop there, and I ended corporate. And I took about 3 months off trying to figure out really where I felt like I was needed and where I wanted to be. And so I was blessed to find Georgia Stand Up, where Georgia Stand Up to find me. And so we're all here.
And speaking of Georgia Stand Up, is where you currently are. What is some of the work you're doing out there, and just what is a little information about the organization?
Sure. Georgia Stand Up. So we are a nonpartisan organization. So let me put that out there. We are nonpartisan. So we do not endorse any candidates or anything. We are a think tank for working communities. We work mainly with Fulton, Clayton, and DeKalb counties, but we're busy full on throughout the whole state. And we have a few campaigns that we do. We work with housing equity, transit equity. When you see MARTA, we're working with things like that. And of course, right now, Get Out the Vote, GOTV, we were working with census. We work with a lot of getting people to get registered to vote and also encouraging them to take that step and to go out and vote.
And how are you liking it over there, like compared to corporate? Are you enjoying this job? How has it been for you so far,
Oh,
especially having a background of community work?
Of course, I love it. It is fulfillment at its best. It is something, as my grandmother used to say, do something that you don't necessarily have to be paid for. And if you don't have to be paid for it, then you're doing the right thing. And I think that is where I found myself here at Stand Up. So I love it. Personally, I have a personal agenda to get as many millennials encouraged about voting and putting them back in the civic engagement, which I feel like us as millennials, we lack. But that's okay, so I feel like I'm on the right place. I'm in the right
Right. For sure, for sure. And I guess now, kind of before we go into voting, I just wanted to ask you kind of another question of obviously this year there's been a particular movement in the last couple of months, especially with the entire Breonna Taylor situation and stuff like that, of support Black women. protect Black women, get behind Black women. But what are some ways? I hate to sound like that. I was thinking if I wanted to say this, I'm gonna go ahead and say it. I hate to sound like that white friend who texts you like, "What can I do for the Black? I feel so terrible." But to sound like that friend, what can Black men do specifically to really protect and support Black women?
I think what Black men particularly can do to support Black women is to really be that support system. I know we're focusing mainly on women, but far too long, you know, both sides, Black people as a whole, men and women, are going through so much. So we find ourselves, women being the support system for men being the support system for women. So I think more so for a Black man is just to take the Black woman serious. Don't want to be the she go, but I believe that without women, you can't do anything. Women are basically that stronghold, or that glue that keeps everything together. And so I think if men value that, especially Black men value that, and really support that glue and make it just a little bit easier, just the little things count, just the how you doing, the smile, the chivalry, that all counts when it comes to Black women. So I think they take us seriously, the world will take us seriously. So.
And I guess, have you seen a shift at all at how you've been treated in these past couple of months versus like how it usually typically is, especially in a city like Atlanta?
Yes, I think in the city in Atlanta, it was very funny. Once everything started happening, of course, like you, I got a lot of texts from my non-melanated counterparts, texting, you know, calling, wanting to know what they can do, or even my friends that were Black, but were not necessarily on the ground or not necessarily in the community, and didn't really pay attention to, you know, this could be us, because we hear a lot of times with the civil rights movement, you know, we hear about it, we read about it, we hear stories about it. But fortunately and unfortunately, we are now in a time to where this is coming back around and we're actually seeing it. You know, for far too long, we didn't take it seriously because these were just far-fetched stories. But now we're actually seeing it unfold. So I do see a difference. I see people taking more pride. I see people actually respecting a little bit more, but it also brings out true colors. You know, you're either going to be respected or you're not. It shows a lot, especially, and I can't say that it was just within the last 3 months of what happened, but a lot of exposure has happened within the last few years, even about where people lie.
At what point of your life did you really started taking a better interest personally in the greater good of the Black community?
I know the hunky-dory answer, but it is really true. Since birth, my parents have always instilled in me of the importance of being a Black woman and being a beautiful Black woman inside and outside, and taking pride in doing for other people. I grew up watching my grandmother, both sides of my grandmother, my paternal and my maternal grandparents, giving back to the communities, even when they had little. So I kind of took on a lot of that. You know, our family really takes the meaning of Sankofa seriously. So we've always been that type. So I grew up watching that. So it just was no question that it would have been instilled.
Being from Louisiana, at what point did you move over to the Atlanta area?
I moved over to the Atlanta area a long time ago. I can't even lie. I've been in Atlanta for at least 17 years now. I just can't claim it. I just cannot claim it. I'm sorry.
You're one of those folks, right? That's how the New Yorkers are. They come here in the second grade and then they're just like, New York. And I'm like, you're from Atlanta at this point, man.
Only where the heart is, okay?
I hear that. Moving on into voting. So yeah, just my first thing, you know, when I look at a guy like Dr. Umar, you know, who's obviously kind of been in the spotlight more than ever this year, when I see him going on his latest run, and, you know, his main thing is, what's the point of voting if none of these parties have the best interests at heart in the Black community? So what is your response to that? Because it's not just Dr. Umar, that's just like at the top, but that's like a thought that a lot of millennials and kids in our demographic have. But what do you have to say to that?
So for those who say that, or ask that question of what's the importance of voting, or think that their vote doesn't count, I mean, I just want to thump them on the head, because I think it's a miseducation. So a lot of times people are thinking my vote doesn't count because they vote for only a presidential election, or they're voting in the executive. So they're voting for presidents, they're voting for mayors, and maybe even a governor if they do that, and don't realize that the importance of voting doesn't just stop there. So where you may not see the results there, those are just one person or just people that have been put in place to push a certain agenda. However, we have every 2 years, there's an opportunity for you to get out and vote in your local elections, your city elections, your state elections, which you need to do. That is where your vote counts, because it literally, it's not from the head on down, it's from down up to the head. And once we start to realize that, I think then we'll start to notice how our vote counts. I think we're thinking of our voting not counting in the wrong aspects. We're only looking at one piece of the pie instead of looking at the full term of when we do everything that we should be doing when it comes to voting.
And I know a lot of people also say like they feel like, you know, we've been voting for so long, we've been voting for decades and decades, and nothing has changed. And they feel like a lot of times at this point, voting, saying register to vote and go out to vote is kind of just like we're helpless and we don't know the solution either. Just, you know, well, what is your response to that, to people who say like saying go vote is just a kind of a cop out because you don't know the solution to help things improve the situations in America?
So I think I would never say to go out and vote blindly, to do it intentionally. When you're making your request known that you want somebody to register to vote and to go vote, let them know the full thing. You know, in my case, we're nonpartisan. So where I work personally is nonpartisan. So I cannot tell you who to vote for. I have my own personal opinions, but I still cannot tell you who to vote for, because it is a deeper importance in knowing for yourself who you're voting for. So that means go get a sample ballot. You may not know at the time when somebody tells you, hey, register to vote and vote. You may not know who you're voting for, and that's okay. But what you should do is once you have been tasked with that or challenged with that request, you should get back, and once your registration is through, once you say, okay, you make the decision to go vote. We live in a world of Google. You can Google sample ballots. You can get everything. Like literally, I can go on my phone right now and find a sample ballot through Ballotpedia and find everything that I want to know that's going to be on my ballot, and pretty much form my own opinions before I even get in the line. So I think that's what we should be doing and promoting, is not only promoting voting, but promoting having a plan and educating yourself.
Well, that was going to be my next question, because, you know, there's oftentimes the thing of all kinfolk, all skin folk and kinfolk. And then, you know, just, you know, like the Black people, they have this rep of just going in and voting all D's, or, you know, even some Black people might go in and just vote all R's. So, you know, like just, I guess, outside of Ballotpedia, since you've already touched on that, are there any other resources that you think are pretty much good places for people to start and get educated on these things?
Yes, your board of elections, your Secretary of State offices. Us in Georgia, you know, we're privy to the mvp.sos.ga.gov. Lord, I just called it out like that. But we're privy to that, and pretty much our whole information's on there. I can go in there now and put in my first initial, last name, and my birthday, and it will populate my voter registration, tell me when I registered to vote, what my district is, my polling locations. It'll send me a link where it'll direct me to finding my sample ballot. It'll also direct me to finding an absentee ballot request form. So I think using the resources that are available to you, like your Board of Elections and your Secretary of State offices, that's where you can start.
And your local newspapers. But I had to plug myself.
Yeah, for those who read, I know it's kind of bad to say, but you know, we've gotten out of the little gist of reading newspapers.
You could go online. We got online. We got websites.
Exactly.
We're on the timeline too. But I guess now just we were talking about it before the interview. But you know, what is one specific thing on this bill, something that's up on the ballot this year that you're really kind of focus on the one that you're like, hey, kids should pay attention to this. And when they look at the bill, when they look at the law, they're like, gee, 501, the right to a tax, a bit, and there's all these big words that you can't understand if you didn't do your research going into. What is one big one for you?
So a lot, to me, those are all of the questions, as far as in the worded questions are, I find more, I won't say more important, but I find a really deep importance when it comes to those. So I would say all of them are hot topic items for me. But personally, I've been kind of leaning more towards this question, the Georgia Amendment 2, to allow residents to be able to declare relief from certain laws and amendments. So basically, when you vote yes, it is basically supports waiving the state sovereign immunity, meaning like, you're just kind of you want the state to, you don't want the state to go ahead and do what you needed to do. I'm trying to say it, trying to bring it back in layman's terms. But when you vote no, it basically is opposing waiving the state's sovereign immunity. And so it prohibits residents to seek that relief that they may need. So I think people should definitely read that, look into that, not only look into that, but look into the other ones. And once you read the questions, read them in their language and then try to decode it into your own language. And if you have a hard time doing that, just Google. There are, I promise you, it's been a couple times I've Googled and I can't even remember the website off the top of my head. There's a neat website that kind of brings it back down in layman's terms that'll kind of explain to you what exactly certain law amendments mean.
For sure, for sure, for sure. Now, Ariel, if there's anything else for you that's extremely pressing right now, that you'd like to, any messages that you'd like to get out right now, here's your chance.
Yes, so early voting starts October 12th and it ends October 30th. I just want to encourage everyone to have a vote plan and to vote early if you're not voting with the absentee ballot. And when I say have a vote plan, literally go find that SOS, find that newspaper, find that Board of Elections, and find your polling locations. And choose and know mentally where your early voting locations are and say, I'm going to go here, choose a day, encourage your family, encourage your friends, help your mom, your grandparents, or any of the elderly people in your area to do the same and make it a day. You can literally, I know for me personally, I'm going to vote on Monday or October 12th. In the morning, I'm going to go with my friends and we're going to eat breakfast, but also make sure other people's experience are good. So, we did a lot with voter suppression here in Georgia. So adopt a poll, adopt a precinct, take a case of water, out to a long line, or take a box of chips or something out to a long line. A lawn chair can go a long way for somebody who may have to stand in a line. So basically help each other. You can't silence your voice. Your silence will not protect you.
And then what is the next step after voting? So we vote. Yay, we did this thing, record numbers. I'm speaking it to existence now just based off of everything that's going on. LeBron James is telling me every commercial break, make sure you register to vote, Rashad. And I'm like, okay, LeBron. But, with that, after that, what can people do? Attending town halls, attending city council meetings, government meetings. What can people do? What are some tangible steps that they can take after November 2nd?
After you vote this November, what you can do is, like you said, go to your city hall meetings, go to council meetings, look into the state meetings, but also prepare yourself and start looking at the next elections that's going to happen in 2 years, which is your state and local elections. So prepare yourselves for those. We are not just ending on November 3rd. This is not just a presidential election. Everything counts on your city, your local. What you see next to you is what you need to worry about. Even this year was a big year because we did the census. So just paying attention to the little nuances that you're going to see within the next 2 years and seeing how things affect change and contribute to change and what you can do to be a part of that change and that positive change.
All right, Ariel. Well, I appreciate you so much for coming on. Let the people know where they can find you.
Thank you. Thank you. So you can find me on Instagram at Ariel_Baton, or Twitter, the same thing, or even Facebook and LinkedIn. You can also see me at my organization at Georgia Stand Up. I'm an organizer here. So you can follow us at GA_stand up to find the latest on what's going on within the elections, especially in Georgia, and little things that you can do to stay involved and get involved in certain movements. If you have any questions or want to know how you can get involved and how you can help in these elections currently, you can email me at Ariel Singleton, ArielSingleton, at georgiastandup.org, and that's Georgia spelled out, .org.
All right, Ariel, appreciate you so much. Hey, guys, until next time, make sure you wash your hands, wear your mask, stay 6 feet, all that good stuff. Until next time.